YouTube? It is Mr. Mean coming at you this fine Tuesday. I'm recording this on my lunch break, and I will upload it after that. So today's video du jour is a blast from the past, but yet relevant as we have a new edition. And of course, I didn't break the book out properly, so I apologize. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay by Cubicle 7. Now, I kind of did an intro early adaptation, or just a quick blurb about it back in the archive. You can go back and check it out there in the doobly-doo. But this is going to be more for the starter set. I'm running a campaign right now. I've switched from Pathfinder because one of my players wanted to GM Pathfinder. It's his first time GMing, so I want to support him, and I'm going to help him as much as I can. And I didn't think that it would be conducive and or helpful for me to run a Pathfinder game. And then people are like, oh, comparing, and I don't want any of that. I want everybody to focus on his Pathfinder game. I've ran Pathfinder since it came out, so I'm not worried about it. I can always, pick the game back up, and we will go back to our Pathfinder game in the future. It's just right now, Dom, one of my players, he wants to GM. He wants to break into GMing, and I'm excited for it because I get to play. We're welcoming 3 new members into our gaming group, so we've got a pretty large gaming group. I think there's like 7 players now. And that's amazing. So we've got a couple. I think one of them is possibly a GM as well. And I'm going to run Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. And then what I think I'll do is, if Dom's game kicks off and does well, I might, after we finish the intro adventure for Warhammer, then what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to a sci-fi game. I think it would be a nice dichotomy between his Pathfinder's pretty high fantasy, and then I can run something. But today's video du jour is a review of the Warhammer starter set, and you get all this cool stuff in the starter set, and it's just not going to set nice, so I'm going to put it. But on the inside is a cool Reichland map, which is nice to be able to look at. And then on the inside of the starter set box, which I highly recommend. I believe it's $30. It was a gift. The awesome Nubby, Mike Wilster, or Michael Wilster, or AKA Nubby, sent this to me as it's $30 retail. So if you're getting ready to start Warhammer, if you haven't played in a long time and you're not sure what the rules changes are, this is a great way. For $30, you get a set of dice. Mikey didn't include the dice for me. I assume he kept them because they do look cool. I'm going to admit, it's the first thing I looked for when I opened the box. But I think Mikey kept them, which is fine. It was very generous of him to send me this box set, and to be honest, I have found it extremely useful. As a 30-year veteran of Warhammer, I picked up on stuff in here that I kind of sort of forgot about, or didn't quite remember, or the rules have changed in a certain way, or it just brought back really fond memories. And I gotta say, the box set for $30, I feel, if you're new to Warhammer, or if you're a returning longtime player, maybe you're going to be a player, or especially if you're going to be a GM and you've never GM'd it before, or you just want to get a leg up on what the new rules are, $30 is bang for your buck. My hair is just driving me absolutely batshit crazy. The woes of long hair. Anyway, so on the inside of the box set, you get a really cool GM reference, which is kind of cool, so you don't have to go out and buy the GM screen right away. And this is just basic stuff. It's nowhere near as comprehensive as the full-blown GM screen, which I have, but this is really nice. So anyway, again, just more usefulness. Cubicle 7 really thought it out. A map on one side of the box, and then a basic GM reference on the other side of the inside cover, which is great. I think that's, and if you're not one to keep the box or whatever, you could, punch this out, cut out the box part, and you could, glue this or affix it to your GM screen, and have it. So very cool there, very well done. Kudos to Cubicle 7 for doing that. I also want to give Mikey a super shout out for I'm gonna run Fallout, and this is super cool. These are the original bottle caps, that the Nuka-Cola caps that they produced. They were $16. It's from Imperial Outpost Games. Someone bought them for Mikey, and he had them. He saw my video about Fallout or whatever, or talking about it, and he sent it to. So again, just another. Mikey, you're the coolest, buddy. Thank you so much. I can't tell you what these mean to me, because these are hard to get. If anybody who knows is a big fan of Fallout, these are super hard to get, and it looks like they haven't even been opened. Or if they were, it's been well taken care of. So Mikey, thank you so much. So yeah, super excited about those. Thank you, Mikey. I'm going to be running the Night of Blood. I printed this off. It's a freebie. You can get it off of Cubicle 7's website. It's like 11 pages, I think, or 22 pages. I don't even know if it has page numbers. It may not. Yeah, it doesn't appear that it has page numbers. It's like, yeah, it's 11 pages. It's a free adventure. This is one of the original adventures. I think this came out in 1986, if I remember correctly. White Dwarf 87, 1989. This is one of the original adventures from Games Workshop for Warhammer First Edition. So it's been re-edited and tailored. It's really well done. It's almost identical, pretty much is identical to the original version, which I have that was reprinted. I think I had the original White Dwarf. I don't have it anymore. I know that, but I do have the Restless Dead book that Games Workshop published, and that the adventure is in here. It's a green book with a bunch of skeletons on it, I believe, and it's on the shelf there. But I'm not going to go dig it out. But this is more of what's in the Warhammer Fantasy starter box for $30, $29.99, readily available from Cubicle 7, or me personally, I would get it from my favorite local game store. I went to the source a couple of weeks ago when I went to Con of the North, and they didn't have it. I was going to pick it up. I went there. That was part of the reason I went, is I knew I was going to run this Warhammer game, and I was going to pick up the starter set, the box set, to just ease me into GMing, because it's been many years since it's been well over 15 years since I played Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and the version I played was the Green Ronin, which in my opinion is still the best version. I thought they did a great job. I really liked it. I have just about all of the books for it. I'm missing one or two, but they're kind of hard to get. I have all of the PDFs. But yeah, so, and whenever I see those books at a garage sale or whatever, I pick them up. I don't even hesitate. But anyway, starter box. What do you get in it? Well, the first thing you'll see when you pop it open is you get a box of tokens, color-coded tokens. And these are for your fate, your resolve, and all that fun stuff. And also action tokens. The game uses an action bonus, or an action economy. You get a +10, or a +1 every time you successfully do something, especially in combat. And that +1, every one that you get stacks, and it equates to a +10 to your next attack. And you get to keep that initiative bonus, that bonus, until you fail or you take damage. So it's kind of fast and furious. It goes back and forth. At first, I didn't think I was going to like it, and I was wondering how I was going to keep track of it. But now I know. I have some little Amazon clear button things, and I'm going to turn these into tokens, proper tokens. So I'm pretty excited about that. So needless to say, these are pretty neat. I'm very excited. So then you pop open the book, and this isn't in the exact order that you get things. I put it in the order that I wanted to talk about it. I've gone through all of this. Haven't read it, 100%, but I've flipped through it quite extensively, and I just keep finding more and more cool stuff that I'm excited about, because the Night of Blood takes place roughly outside of Ubersreich, which is a part of the old world. And so what you get in this box set is basically a guide to Ubersreich. And this is, softback book, and it is quite well detailed. There's NPCs, there's plot hooks, there is areas to go. They describe the calendar of what's happening. There's a lot of political turmoil. Ubersreich has just been kind of, I don't want to say invaded, but for lack of a better word, they've been invaded, and they're being taken over, and your players come into it, right about that time. So it's Ubersreich, a visitor's guide, and it is just awesome. And there's something for all the players. There's inns, there's carpenters guilds, there's an apothecary, there's a locksmith guild, metalworkers guild, sausage shop, because halflings, the rookery, Wizard's Way, and the Guild of Cutlers. And there's just all kinds. There's a marketplace. There's all the temples to the various gods, and some of the more famous ones are pointed out. And Ubersreich has been besieged quite a bit by Chaos Beastmen, Bretonnians, all kinds. They've just got a bunch of shit going down, and they've had a pretty tumultuous past, and they're just trying to get normal right now and turn into like a normal land. And I think the current timeline is 2512 in the game, and there's just there's a great timeline. I'm actually reading things and I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. So it's they're being kind of martially controlled right now by Altdorf. So there's some political turmoil, and your players get thrust into the middle of that. And there's a bunch of adventure seeds, and then there's the adventure book, which we'll get to in a minute, which highlights all of that and gives you specific adventures for beginning level characters and goes it through. But the guide to Ubersreich is just phenomenal, and you get all kinds of NPCs, stat blocks with all their abilities. This right here to me is worth the $30, the price of admission right here. And it's pamphlet, it's a softback book. It's only 64 pages, but it's worth the $30 for the amount of information that you get in here. And I think that's fantastic. So that alone is worth the price of admission. And nice little blurb on the back by Celestine, the Book of Divinations, Necrodomo the Insane, 1587 IC. IC is Imperial Charter, if I remember correctly. So then next up, the next important thing for the game master or someone willing to take on the role or want to learn more about it is the adventure book. This is just a stapled book. This is full of adventures, and you can play these back to back. They are specifically designed for the iconic characters that are in the box set, which we'll go over in a second. But you can use them for, like, I have a halfling in my party, so there's a halfling adventure. I could tailor that to him. There's an elf adventure in here. So I have a wood elf and an elf in my party, so I could use that adventure. And then, of course, the rest are just generic to like humans and fighters or whatever. There's a troll slayer. I don't have a troll slayer in my group. I don't even have a dwarf in my group. So that one I could either modify it for a human or whatever, or just leave it as it is and embroil the players in it. They give you some information. There's all kinds of monsters. There's NPCs aplenty, and various factions for them to interact with. And what's nice is it takes you through the rules step by step. So each adventure builds upon the foundations that you learned in the previous adventure. So one adventure highlights like social challenges and things to do. And then the next adventure is highlighting, combat. And then there's an adventure in the back for magic. And so it just highlights on all the different facets of Warhammer so that you get a very well-rounded overview of the world and the game and the mechanics. And because it's not super crunchy, but it's crunchy enough that it's going to give you pause, and you're going to have to learn things. There's a critical wound table on the back and a dramatic test outcomes table on the back. So if you don't have the GM screen and all you have is the beginner box set, you can run Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay with this box set. You don't need the core rulebook. You don't need the GM screen. You don't need any of the other splat books that are currently out. You can get by with just this. You've got a whole role-playing game in this box set, and with this you've got, I think, 6 or 7 adventures that you can run your party through. So you've got quite a bit of adventuring. The only thing you're not going to know how to do is how to advance your character, because that's covered in the core book. So you're going to play these adventures pretty static at your level. I didn't see anywhere where it gave information on upgrading your character. I didn't see that in here. It may be in there and I missed it, but I went through both books pretty clearly and I didn't see anything that it talked about advances. I believe it points you to the core rule books because, they're trying to sell a book, so they want you to go buy the core book. And if you've seen my review of the core rule book, I think it's worth it. I will admit, when I read the mechanics and the +1 advances, or the +10 to initiative, +1 that you get like in combat and some social confrontation that you'll do, I didn't like it. It was bean counting to me, and I didn't like it. But now that I've read it a little more thoroughly, and I've read some examples, they also give you some fine examples in the in here. I'm kind of liking it. I mean, it is something that you could kind of do away with and not just do it. You could ignore it, and I think the game would be fine. But the success levels and the +1 bonuses that you get, the initiative bonuses and stuff, also are going to make combat go a little bit faster, because let's face it, starting characters, you're going to be lucky if you're in the 40% percentile range for doing things in combat. You're going to be good at as a starting level character. You're going to be good if you're sporting a 30 to a 35. You're pretty lucky. You got some decent dice rolls when you're creating your character. As a side note, all of my characters went pretty much with the random roll, and I think that allowed them to start the game with like 120 to, I want to say 120 was the max experience that we got. And so my characters are starting, they all pretty much, I think the only place they fudged on the rolls, or didn't fudge, but they took the alternate option, was career path. They didn't like what they got. Only one player, Dom, he rolled a wood elf artist, and he stuck with that. So I thought that was pretty cool. And so he might have slightly more points than everybody else had to start with. But for the most part, everybody went with the random rolls. We randomly rolled everything, and they took the experience bonuses that they got for that. So in the box set, you don't have to worry about that. You're not creating characters. You're going to use the pre-generated characters. And when we get to that, you're going to see they knocked it out of the park. But the adventure book, again, this book itself, I think is easily a $20 spend for the amount of adventures. Then you figure on average $5 an adventure, and I think there's 6 to 7 adventures in here. So, we're looking $30, $35 just for the adventures, with all the stats, all the monsters, everything you need. And here's the nice part. I believe you've got 2 options here, and I'm not sure. I know one of them is correct. You can buy the PDFs, and then you could turn them into tokens and use them in whatever Foundry or Roll20 or whatever you use. I'm a Foundry guy, but I know that Cubicle 7 supports Foundry 100%, and I believe you can buy this as a digital pack for Foundry. I could be mistaken, but I think you can. But even if you can't, you can buy it as a PDF. I think it's only $20 if you buy it as a PDF, and you'll get all this stuff, in which case you can just cut and paste and put it all into Foundry or Roll20 or whatever. So super awesome right there. The next thing you get is you get a number of these cards. So you get an introduction to Ubersreich and the Empire. So this is just basically telling you about the land, real brief synopsis. And then on the back, you get the conditions reference sheet, and it talks about all the different conditions: ablaze, bleeding, broken, fatigued, prone, stunned, surprised, and unconscious, and tells you about gaining conditions when you take a wound and stuff like that. So nice card to leave out on the table. Everybody can reference it. These are, I think, I'm actually halfway tempted to laminate these, but they are, you can hear it's heavy card. It's going to hold up for a while. I might even just put it in a sleeve to kind of protect it. The next card you get is the combat reference sheet, and it talks about the stages of combat. And then you get an injury reference on the back, which has the critical wound table, wounds, and info about critical wounds. So again, just a card to leave on the table. Everybody can reference it, and it would be, good information. The next card is attributes and skill reference sheet. So this basically tells you all the skills and some of the attributes and everything that you're going to have in the game and what they do and what they stand for, how character bonuses and the information there. Character skills kind of tells you what the skills are. The nice part, and we'll see it when we look at one of the pre-made characters, is the character skills are laid out really well on these pre-generated characters. I wish they would have kept the same format for the standard character sheet, because if you're a grognard like me, you've played many different role-playing games, and sometimes it all blurs together and you have a hard time remembering what's what. So it's really nice to see this. This is one that I would leave on the table, even though we're not going to be using this box set for what it was intended for. I'm going to be running a different adventure, but I'm going to keep these pre-generated characters because they are basically level 1 careers. And what's going to happen is if a player dies in the middle of combat, I'm going to give them one of these. And these are going to be my go-to default, characters for people to play if they lose their character in their first career. Now, if they lose it after that, then they're going to have to make new characters. But and then on the flip side of this is the test reference sheet. And again, this is all stuff that, as a GM, as you run the game and as the players play it more, they're going to memorize this. They're going to know it. But it's nice to have a reference sheet that you can peruse when you have rules questions. There's 3 handouts. I'm not going to show those on screen, but there's rumors you have heard about the Reichland and in and around the area, and these are what you use to hand out for those adventures that are inside the adventure booklet. And then you get 2 maps. They're double-sided. These are of Ubersreich, so no spoilers here. So there's one map. And then you flip it over, and there's a little more detailed, and with the ruling houses, their coat d'armes. And then we get a more color-coded map, the town of Ubersreich and surrounds, Game Master's map. So this is for the Game Master, but it's got a key there on the side, so you can see what everything is. And then, of course, there is Ubersreich. This would be the map maybe that the players would get access to. And again, really well done. And nicely done. So those are just 2 really nice handouts that you can give to your players. One of them's for you. They're double-sided, so you have to be a little careful maybe. But when you open up the box set, though, this is the first thing you see, and it says read this first. And it's just basically telling you what's in the box set. You can see there's the dice right there, and oops, there's the dice right up here, which they looked pretty cool. I'm bummed I didn't get them. I'm just picking on you, Mikey. It's all good. But this just basically tells you everything that's in here. Advantage tokens for, combat and stuff, and then a little blurb on the back. But it's really nicely done. Really sets the theme and the tone. And then you get in to the pre-generated characters, and I think there's 6 of them. Yes, there's 6 pre-generated characters. And I'm going to tell you, man, they knocked these out of the park. The art, the layout, everything is fantastic. So on the back side of your character sheet, you get a full-blown color picture of the character. That's amazing right there in and of itself. And then on the back side, it folds out, and you have your skull motif that is, synonymous with anything Warhammer. And then you get the quotations, the things that she says a lot, who she is, what she's like, why play this character. So this is Salundra von Drakenberg. And then you open it up, and you have a full-blown character sheet, and it tells you an explanation on one side and the character background on the other side. So you get motivations, you get everything. You get a completely filled-out character sheet. Ready to play. These are good to go. And you've got your trappings. You've got everything you need right here. This is a human soldier. So really well done. And then the next one is Morella Brandy Snap. Morella Brandy Snap. And I'm assuming she's a halfling. Yep. So this is a halfling thief. So, and again, awesome art. I mean, just screams thief. And again, same thing on the inside. You get her character background and her explanation, and then you get all of her attributes and her stats and everything. So, again, just knocked out of the park. Gunnar Rolfson. Obviously, this is the dwarf troll slayer. Solid artwork again. Just really well done. Motivations, everything you need to role play with these characters is here. You get Elsie Siglobin, and she is a human witch hunter. And I'm just going to tell you right now, starting picture is awesome right there. It does the 2 pistols. Let's see if she actually gets the pistols. Yes, pistols times 2. Her skill with the pistols is 56%. Range is 20 yards. Damage is +8. And the qualities, weapons have qualities in Warhammer. So we have damaging, impale, penetrating, pistol, and reload 1, which means it takes a full round to reload it. So hence why you have 2. So yeah, really cool. Just knocked out of the park. The next character is Amorous Emberfell. This is a high elf merchant. And the art, again, definitely screams high elf. And a merchant with a sword. So you're not going to haggle too much with him. And see, does it say it's an elf sword? No, it just says it's a sword. Damage is +4. Now, he's got a 53 skill with that sword. So weapon skill of 48. So he's getting a +5 from somewhere. And I don't know. I don't know where he's getting the extra +5. It might be a talent or something. But anyway, yeah, solid. And last but not least, Ferdinand Gruba. And this is my favorite because it's a wizard or a sorcerer. Wizard. But he's using a scythe and he's in purple. So obviously he's along the death lines, I believe. Probably a follower of Moore. He's got a grimoire, wizard uniform, robes of your college, a scythe for reaping. Also sea weapon. 6 sheets of parchment, quill and ink. So let's see, where's his spells? Petty magic, read, write, savvy, and cool-headed. And his spells are dart, light, and shock. And dart is not bad because it does damage 0 plus your success levels on a hit. So, he's got a 61% chance to cast this spell. And because it's a ranged spell, you don't get an opposed roll. So that part is nice. So that is the contents of the starter box, for the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay starter set. Take your first steps into a grim world of perilous adventure. Again, a huge shout out to the Greenskins on my Discord, otherwise known as Mike. This is bar none. This is amazing. It is super awesome. I can't wait to play it with my friends. We had our session 0 where we created characters. And we've done lots of cool stuff with it. So now it's just, we're going to dive into it and we're going to have our first session 2 weeks from now, basically. This Friday is Pathfinder at my buddy Anthony's house. And then after that, the following Friday is my Warhammer game, and it'll be our session 0. And like I said, we're going to play that adventure, Night of Blood, because I've run that adventure before and I can do it with my eyes closed, and I'm super excited. So anyway, I hope that kind of gives you an idea of the starter set and how cool it is. And I hope I hope you pick one up and let me know what you think of it, or if you already have it, if you think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I think it's pretty darn cool. I like to see starter sets for RPGs. Fantasy Flight did it with all their Star Wars games, which I thought was amazing. I believe they did box sets for Dragon Age, box sets 1, 2, and 3, but that was more of a full-blown game, but still kind of the same concept, because they did release the books later on, and the books are amazing. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy that. I'll upload this here in a minute, and then we'll go from there. Expect the next video probably later on this week. I'm not quite sure what we're going to cover. I have a funny suspicion that it might be something a little different, but we'll see. Stay tuned. As always, peace and hair grease, and remember, Mr. Mean says, be nice.